Today, we are going skin deep, exploring one of the oldest and maybe one of the most personal art forms humanity has ever come up with, the tattoo.
And that really gets you thinking, right? What is it about this practice that's so powerful? I mean, why have we been compelled to permanently mark our skin for thousands and thousands of years?
Well, the answer goes back way further than you'd probably guess. We're talking about the oldest direct evidence we have of a tattoo on human skin, and it's from 5,300 years ago. Just let that sink in.
So here's where we're headed. We're going to start with that 5,000-year-old mark. Then we'll look at the ancient global roots of tattooing. We'll see how sailors and princes brought it back to the West. Trace its incredible journey from something for outcasts to a true art form. Get into the cool chemistry of how it all works. And finally, look at where this ancient art is going next.
Okay, first up, a mark 5,000 years old. Let's dig in and uncover the world's oldest ink.
So, meet Ötzi the Iceman. He was discovered, perfectly preserved, frozen in the Alps. And the amazing thing? He had tattoos. Not just one or two, he had 61 of them. Now, they were pretty simple, just little lines and crosses on his spine, his knee, his ankle. And they were all made with carbon ink, which is basically soot. And, a lot of researchers think their placement suggests they weren't for decoration, but might have been some kind of ancient therapeutic treatment, sort of like acupuncture.
But here's the thing. Ötzi wasn't some kind of one-off. Tattooing was a truly global phenomenon, right from the very beginning. Around the same time, over in Africa, we find Egyptian mummies with the world's oldest figurative tattoos, actual little pictures of animals. And in the Americas, Chinchorro mummies show clear evidence of facial tattoos from over 4,000 years ago. So this wasn't just one culture's idea, it seems to be a fundamentally human one.
So that leads us right into our next section, Ancient Ink Global Roots. Think of it as a universal language written on the skin.
So, how did they even do it back then? Well, for thousands of years, one of the most common ways was a technique called hand tapping. It's this ancient Austronesian method where you use a small mallet to gently tap a needle into the skin. And that needle, it could be made of anything, a sharp thorn, a piece of bone, even a seashell. It's an incredible technique that spread with people as they migrated all across the Pacific.
And the reasons people got tattoos were just as diverse as the cultures themselves. It was almost never just about looking cool. In the Philippines, intricate batok tattoos showed a warrior's status and achievements. For Egyptian priestesses, it was part of a sacred ritual. The Haudenosaunee people in North America actually used tattoos on the jaw to treat toothaches. For some, it marked you as nobility. For others, like Roman slaves, it was a mark of punishment. And for the Inuit, facial tattoos called kakinit offered spiritual protection. The point is, these marks were deeply, deeply woven into the fabric of society.
Now, let's jump forward in time to a really key moment in the story. Sailors, princes, and reintroduction. This is when the modern Western world kind of re-met the tattoo.
So picture this. It's 1769, and Captain James Cook lands in Tahiti. And in his journal, he describes what he sees, recording the Polynesian word tattoo, which he wrote meant inlaying the color of black under their skins so as to be indelible. This is the first time that word ever appeared in English, and it of course became our word tattoo. Cook and his sailors brought back not just the word, but a whole new fascination with the practice itself.
But believe it or not, Cook wasn't actually the first. Almost 80 years earlier, a man named Jolicilo, who became known as the Painted Prince, was brought to London all the way from the Philippines. His body was covered in these incredible markings, and he was put on display as a curiosity, drawing huge crowds. He's this really powerful reminder that the cultural exchange and the Western fascination with it had started long before Cook's voyages.
Okay, let's move into the modern era, and what was truly an electric revolution. Our next section, from outcast to art.
For pretty much all of human history, tattooing was done by hand, with tools like bone chisels and citrus thorns. It was slow, it was painful, it was laborious. And then, in 1891, everything changed. A tattoo artist in New York named Samuel O'Reilly had a brilliant idea. He took Thomas Edison's invention, the electric pen, and adapted it. He patented the very first electric tattoo machine, and that one invention made tattooing faster, cheaper, and way more precise than ever before. It was a total game changer.
And this is where the story gets really wild. Because of the electric machine, tattoos became more accessible, and they really solidified their image with sailors, circus performers, and the so-called criminal underclass. But, and this is the crazy part, at the exact same time, it was a secret trend among the super elite.
We're talking King George V of Britain, Tsar Nicholas II of Russia. They all had tattoos, hidden away under all their fancy royal clothes.
It really wasn't until the middle of the 20th century that the public image of tattooing started to shift. A period that people now call the Tattoo Renaissance saw these pioneering artists start to push the boundaries of what was possible, slowly, piece by piece, turning it from a subculture craft into a legitimate, respected art form.
But hold on. Before we get to where we are today, let's just pause the history lesson for a second and ask a really basic question. Let's talk about the chemistry of a tattoo. I mean, how does the ink actually stay in your skin?
Well, it's actually pretty simple when you break it down. Modern tattoo ink has two main parts. First, you've got the pigment. These are just really fine solid particles, like microscopic dust, and they're what give the tattoo its color. Then you've got the carrier. That's a liquid, usually something simple like distilled water or ethyl alcohol, and its job is to hold all those pigment particles in suspension and carry them down into the skin.
So what are those pigments actually made of? Well, a lot of them are minerals and chemical compounds. Black ink, for instance, is almost always something called carbon black, which is really just a super refined version of soot. And that connects us all the way back to Ötzi's 5,300-year-old tattoos. White is usually titanium dioxide, and other colors come from metal oxides, like iron for reds or cobalt for blues.
Okay, so here's the magic trick, how it becomes permanent. The machine injects that ink into the dermis, which is the second layer of your skin, below the surface. Your body's immune system immediately freaks out. It sends these immune cells rushing to the area to fight off what it thinks is an infection. These cells try to eat and break down the ink particles, but the pigment particles are just too big, so the cells can't get rid of them. They just stay there, trapped inside your immune cells, forever, locking the tattoo in place permanently.
All right, let's bring this all home in our final section, the future of skin art. This is where we see these amazing modern stories connecting all the way back to those ancient roots.
Something really incredible is happening right now. All over the world, indigenous communities are reclaiming tattooing as a powerful act of cultural identity. After being suppressed for generations, often by colonial powers, ancient traditions like the Inuit Kakinit facial tattoos, the Filipino batok, and the Māori Taw Moko are seeing this massive resurgence. It's a way for a new generation to connect directly to their heritage.
And that really shows the full arc of the journey, doesn't it? From a sacred rite of passage, to a mark of punishment, to a sailor's souvenir, and now to this mainstream, global form of personal expression. The meaning has changed over and over again, but the act itself, the practice, has never gone away. It's become this global language, written on the one canvas we all share, our own skin.
This ancient art has been telling our stories for over 5,000 years, and it's now a story being told all over the globe. It just makes you wonder, what will our skin say next?